All right, Steph, I'm so excited for this lesson today. So go ahead, lay it on us. What are we going to learn?
Yes. Well, thank you again for having me back.
Yes.
For anyone who happened to tune in last time and remembers me, my voice, my face, and what we talked about, I really do hope that a ton of value came from that. And as a reminder, we really were talking about dividing and, dare I say, organizing our content
Yes.
to be our kind of map and guide to how to post on social, how, when, and what, right? We really did target and hone in so much on social media. And while I would never say social is, necessarily going away or isn't an area we should focus on, I really wanted to come back and hone in on the other areas of marketing, content management, and branding.
Yeah, I think that's so important because it's confusing, to be honest. I know a lot of people that I talk to, and myself included, get really confused between the different divisions. So I think this is great.
Yeah, and they really all play together, but they truly are their own things. So kind of my plan for today is to talk about the differences between content, marketing, and branding, talk about how they work together. And then I'd love to kind of give the audience a little exercise to do on your own or do while you're listening. Nothing crazy, I promise. But I do really want to hone in on how it's all about organizing. It truly is as simple. Content, marketing, and branding does not have to be as scary as I think we all make it sound if we apply proper organization to it. So that's really the framework of kind of what I wanted to jump in and talk about. So let's start with branding. Branding is truly what we put out into the world, our audience, our consumers, our communities, whether they've ever bought from us or not, put into the world for any eyes or ears to land on and absorb. That is our brand. What we say, the tone at which we say it, the visuals we put out through graphics, logos, typography, the images, the video content, right? All of that makes up the brand. A lot of time, I love the word perception. Perception is a great way to think about your brand. How do people perceive you? Are you funny? Are you serious? Are you looking for votes? Are you looking for sales? Right? Everything about how people perceive you is your brand. Okay. Then your marketing is how you get your brand out into the world. Right? I like to picture this, I picture this little warehouse. You have your big old warehouse, actually big. I said little, but I'm talking this big old warehouse, right? And it houses your brand. Okay. What you sell, who you are, what your beliefs are, all of those things I just talked about with your brand. And then inside your warehouse, you have these little vehicles. Right? One's your social media vehicle, and it's taking bits and pieces of your brand and it's driving out there into the world. Then you have another vehicle, another marketing vehicle, and that's your email marketing. And it's driving out into the inboxes of the rest of the world, right? You have print and mailers and other things that are tangible that we get in our hands in some way. Maybe even a sales team, right? You actually still have people. I say actually still have people, like we're the world has really changed us, huh?
It's like, what? You still do that? Yeah, I got you.
I say that because prior to going full-time BIM, I was beating the pavement every day with my pamphlets, and I was doing that. So, but yes, you have your sales team or your print media, and that little vehicle is going out there, right? It literally is how your brand gets out there. So if the branding, if all those vehicles come in and they're picking up different things because it's not cohesive, right? There could be some intentional reasoning for that. But most of the time, what we see in marketing that well, what we see often in companies that are struggling with what they call marketing or sales or branding, right? Whatever term they choose to use, what usually is the true break is the lack in cohesion, right? And that organizing on which vehicles need to be taking what, and what vehicles need to be taking everything.
Got you. Yeah.
So recap again a little bit quickly before we add a third element in here. One is our brand, who we are, what we sell, what we believe. Second is that marketing, which is the vehicle to get the brand out there. And then this third element is content. And this is where people really struggle because the content available is endless. And people struggle with that, even though that is a huge blessing. I talk a lot about constantly wanting to help my clients with not becoming limited. Don't limit yourself with your name. Right. Don't limit yourself with a tagline that says you sell red strawberries. I don't know why that's what I picked, but if that's your tagline, then you are always, you're limited to this red strawberries, right? All of a sudden blue strawberries come out. Well, you ain't in that game, right? Because you sell red strawberries. Around, right. So having a limitless content is truly a blessing, but it also gives us, it feels heavy because we don't know where to begin. Right. So what I really want to hone in is organizing the content, but it's really important that we do need to have our branding and our marketing established before we feel like that content can be cohesive and best represent our brand. Let me pause because that was kind of like a lot. What are you?
It's so funny. I have this visual of this warehouse and like these Amazon little trucks taking on, like that visual was awesome. Right. And so I'm interested to see where the content, what in this vision that I have in my head is the content now. So yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. Because I mean, I can take it from my perspective of my struggle, right? So I do have content that fits different buckets that all fit the overall brand, right? But there's different pieces that go to different audiences and different, so there is that kind of struggle of, well, what do I do with this particular content? So yeah. Well, and so what I like to do is go back to our elementary days of learning about graphs and bars and line graphs and pie charts and things like that. And the way I was taught was we always talked about pizza. Right? The different slices of our pizza. We could have big slices to the pizza. We can have skinny little pieces, which I don't know why anyone would want a skinny piece of pizza, but there's a time and place, I guess. But the exercise, so if you were listening to the beginning and you're anxious for this exercise, we'll kick it off now. It's as simple as taking a plain piece of paper. And I just want you to draw that circle that's going to house this pie graph, our pizza graph, we want to call it. And all I want you to do is just know that we're going to encompass everything inside this circle. Okay. So when we're talking about our content, we started with branding. It's really important that in this pie graph, when we start to section out different elements of our content, we recognize that the foundation of what we're putting out into the world has to represent our brand. Okay. And we have a lot of things within our brand. We have what we do, the products, the services. If you're a personal brand, like a politician or an author, or someone who's looking for votes or, signatures for a cause, that is still, very much real. Just because, I guess I want to step back a second. Just because a business is transactional and makes sales, that doesn't mean a personal brand that is looking for votes, or like I said, a petition looking for signatures, or a nonprofit looking for followers. Just because there isn't a transactional, what's the word I want? Monetary gain. It doesn't mean that you don't want to have the same structure to it. Right.
So in our brand, what we do, the products and services that we sell or offer, why we do it and how we do it, we need to right off the bat, make sure that that is represented in this pie chart. So on your piece of paper with your circle, I want you to just write on the outside, what, how, and why.
And I'm gonna do it.
Okay, I'll do it with you.
What?
Actually, this is great. I will do this with everyone so that it keeps
why,
me.
and how, right? That's what you
Yep.
said?
Yep. What, how, and why, just somewhere. Okay. And we'll come back and we'll touch on what we're going to do and how we're going to fill this pie chart up. So that's our branding. Okay. We kind of cover a little bit there. We also need to talk about marketing. So this content wheel that we're going to essentially create, which helps us understand what sort of content should we put out into the world, is going to, like you said, vary based on the marketing channels or the marketing vehicles that you are using. Okay. But the general concept of what is within your wheel shouldn't change. Maybe just the quantity of it does, how big those pieces are, right? So we have our what, which is what we sell. Now, I just was speaking about this on another podcast, and anyone who's listening who is a social media strategist or anything in the social world will probably cringe. But my best advice for your what category is keep that pretty small. If you're talking about social media, keep that pretty small. If you're like me or anyone else who is absorbing social media, it is full-blown ads all the time.
Yes, I agree with you on that. I see where you're going with this, and I agree.
It is so much in your face, what I like to call, and I think we talked about this last time, but what I like to call the buy my cheeseburger theory. It's
we did.
Yeah, just buy my cheeseburger, buy my cheeseburger. Instead of anyone even thinking of you and associating it with cheeseburgers, right? That's why it is really important that a sliver of your pie chart is talking about what you do, like a direct correlation to, hey, this is what we sell.
Right.
But if it's, a 50% chunk of your content, the authenticity of that vehicle of social media is lost.
Yeah. People tune that out.
They do. Well, because social's original intention wasn't to become a selling, right? I mean, I guess I can't say that with full knowledge, but when social came out, especially like for me in college, it was with the intention of being social.
Getting to know people and brands,
well, not even brands, right? Not even brands.
Well, it wasn't even originally. See, I can't remember back that far. It seems like it's always been here, but it wasn't back in the AOL days, You're right. Now that I think about AOL, you're right. There was no real selling there. That it was social.
It was individual profiles, right? The one that I remember, and I don't want to age myself here, but I mean, I had a Facebook in college when it was only college kids. Prior to that, of course, MySpace,
yes.
And prior to that, I can't remember what it was called. I should look it up, but we had, prior to MySpace, it was called like a Zumba or I got to go look it up. It was something with a Z, but all of the ones I just listed, the original intention was your personal profile, right? Even MySpace rated your personal friends.
Yes.
Right. Facebook, was essentially, I mean, I think the early iterations was pretty shallow, which was to actually rate people. Right. So thankfully they got away from that really quick. But the whole point of bringing this in, because I feel like we're honing in on social too much again, but the whole point is this really is where we are, but your consumers didn't go there for ads.
Right.
So when you're thinking about your what puzzle piece, think of it pretty small. I don't like to create my pie my pie chart piece percentages until I know what all the puzzle pieces are first. Right. But I do want you to think about how much content do I really need to put out that is within that what category. Okay. So we kind of covered the what a little bit. Now, if you, this what, how, and why really comes from Simon Sinek's Start With Why theory and book and TED Talk. I like to challenge Simon Sinek. I hope if I say this enough, one day he will like come at me because I've been challenging him. But in his TED Talk, he says every company, no matter what, knows what they do. I don't believe that. Yes. I've had enough conversations, literally even earlier today with a prospect that still don't know what they do. So the exercise when you're thinking about within that pie, not just, okay, we need a pie chart piece that's about my what, but we also need to organize what's within the what. It's a lot of what's. We're organizing our what's in our what category. But we need to make sure we really know what that is ourselves. That is a huge part of that first segment of the branding, right? Yeah. That when you are thinking about branding, if you're just thinking your colors and your logos, I'm here to tell you branding is so much more than that.
Yeah.
And working with, an expert, if you're at that stage, or honestly, a friend. Obviously I do branding. So working, encouraging you to work with an expert, of course helps me. But honestly, like Dana and I met in a mastermind group, and this exercise of figuring out your what is as simple as this. And this is what I do with my clients. I want you to put yourself in front of a second grade classroom, and you were brought for show and tell day. And what your show and telling is your business. And you have to explain to these second graders what you do. Now, all of a sudden, these eloquent taglines and these fancy string of sentences that we've spent hours using the thesaurus to make sound so fancy are out. And we're really just trimming it down. Yep. Trimming it down to just real cohesive, concise what we do. And that's what your consumers need. They need that clarity.
That's interesting, because when you said what we do, what we sell, I immediately went to, okay, one-on-one services, speaking engagements, organized academy, but really using it that way, someone wouldn't understand what necessarily that was, and needing to get a little deeper with it. So,
yeah. Second graders may know the term podcast, but they don't know what that means, right? So what you really do is you speak to others about organizing, right? Through video, audio, right? Really, really helping paint the picture.
Yeah, I like
for
that.
Your audience. We talk a lot in branding about visual. So actually the V in VIM stands for visual. And we innately and immediately start thinking of actual visuals, logos, imagery, video, fonts, colors, things like that. But messaging is also so visual. So when I'm talking about being in front of these second graders, every word that's coming out of your mouth, they, just like you with the warehouse and those little Amazon trucks, right? You created a visual.
Yeah.
And so your what and helping trim that down and be very cohesive and clean with it will really help convey what you do in a very organized, clear way.
Ooh, I like that.
Good. So then the next is how. And this is so important. It may be, and just like your what may be a couple small pieces as well, right? Depending on the structure of your business.
Right.
Like for you offer a podcast. That's what, that's one of your what's. Another what for you is your organized academy. Correct. Right? Also one-on-one training. So there's a couple different what's, and if it helps you, with being organized, remember, we're all bringing this down to how can we make this clear and concise and organized, then you might want 3 small, pie chart pieces. That's one thing that I want to make sure people know. You don't have to do it exactly the same way I do it for each client. It has to just make sense for you. So making sense of that with the what. Now we're down to our how. Same principle applies. Does not have to just be one sliver of how. How is a really beautiful place for where a lot of intentional words that are within your brand will start to come out. So for me, one of my hows is visual. Once again, what I do is incredibly visual. So when I'm thinking about a pie chart piece for the content that I'm putting out there, I know that I need to speak about visuals, show visuals, talk about visuals, create visuals, talk about the differences in visuals. Another how for me is positivity. Right? How I do what I do is with enthusiasm, with positivity, with probably way more hand motions than I need, loudness, right? Like so much of my how is truly that. And so part of my content pie chart piece needs to be about positivity and enthusiasm, right? Talking about things in my world and in my life. And I know you follow me, so you see a lot that I put a lot of quotes out. And someone might come to my social or my website or get my emails or experience my marketing in any way and wonder, why is she always sending me all these positive quotes? How does this make her money? Right?
The enthusiasm.
Well, and
inspiring in them.
Yes.
Right?
Well, and that is, and it's a part of how I do what I do. You could go to several different branding agencies and they could all, do a phenomenal job just like we do, but none of them are going to put out the level of enthusiasm, positivity, the focus on intention and excellence and visuals that I do. And for my 6th, how and word that I kind of wraps everything up is peace, right? These words make up the very unique how for Vim that no other agency is going to do. But you as a consumer won't know that that's important to you or that I even offer that unless I show that. Got you.
So is there a limit as to how many hows you should have in your chart?
So, and right now I'm really using my key core values for my how right now. I do believe limiting your core values to 3 to 5. I cheat and I took 6.
Do as I say, not as I do.
I know. But once again, for me, the way my pie chart is I don't have a sliver for each one of my core values. I used my core value words to help me structure my pie chart.
Gotcha.
So one of my sections is that enthusiasm and positivity. And that whole section, I chose to send out quotes, to put quotes out, right? Whether they're quotes that I said, quotes from podcast interviews, quotes from inspiring people that I find through my journey of reading and online absorption. That is within that pie chart piece. That visual, I knew because it's my core value that when I'm putting together my content, the more it aligns, the more people will feel that from me. Plus, because it's a core value of mine, what I do visually, and so much of what I do is visual. So it aligns beautifully. And once again, it takes out the guesswork. Unless you haven't done some of the preliminary foundational branding exercises, this will either be a little challenging, but the plus in that is it'll force you to spend some time on these important branding aspects. If you want your organization to kind of fit. right? So within your how, we could talk about core values. Okay. And then within your how also, it could be some more logistical things, right? We work in person. We're local only. We're virtual only. We are all experts in our fields because we have PhDs, right? Or whatever it might be, right? Some of the logistical things that make us do what we do and how we do it, very unique to us. That's really important to be housed in your how. How is it that housed in your how? Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, I'm sorry. Just saying how in like seven different ways in the same string of sentences was making me laugh. Okay, so also in your how, your personality comes out a lot in your how. So we have our core values, we have our logistics, right? And I have kind of just been scribbling some notes on the outside of my circle if you guys are following along. In addition to the core values and the logistics, we also have that personality, right? And a lot of times the personality does come through in those core values, just like with my example for Vim, enthusiasm, positive, that also comes out in my personality. But also, you know, a personality trait of like funny or serious, right? Is the content we're putting out, you know, am I cracking one-liners because I'm really funny? Honestly, I'm not. So no, I'm not. But brands like Dollar Shave Club, it's one of my favorite brands. They're incredibly humorous, but their competitor, I always say Mach 3, but the commercial came on the other day and I was like, oh, that's actually a way better competitor that people know. Why am I blanking on the other? Michelin. Is it Michelin? No, that's Tide.
I know the one you're talking about, but I can't think of the name of it either. But it's a shaver. Right?
Yes. Yes.
It's a shaver.
Mach 3 is definitely one brand, but there's a bigger one. Gillette. Okay. Gillette is super serious. Literally serious, sharp, masculine, like so many emotional personality things change when I think of Gillette versus Dollar Shave Club. Like literally the way I even say their name evokes a different emotion. So we're going to just, to speed things along in that how, we're going to give an opportunity for our personality to show. Okay. Right?
So we've got core values, logistics, and personality is all under how, right?
Yes. Right. Okay. We don't have to cover everything, but if we want to make sure, you know, we could just organize our content. However, but the goal with this conversation is organizing it so that our brand is cohesively within our content. So that's why it's important that these are represented. Yeah. And then the other part of your brand, that what, how, and why, is that why, right? And everyone's why is different, but showing up for your why in your content is huge. Previously in buying and selling and marketing, the consumers were limited in choice. Not always, right? There's always been competition. Right. But in the grand scheme of where do I get Post-it notes, or where do I go for this, that, or whatnot, you kind of knew who you knew, you know, it was Pepsi or Cola, you know. And now we're getting more and more limitless, you know. You can go online to little boutiques, you can go to the Amazon and search the different shops. Right. And so what you do and simple supply and demand isn't enough. Why you do it is where you get, of course, conversions for sales and marketing, or where your marketing starts to convert into sales and loyal audience, but it also creates a community, a following, people who want to talk about what you do. You know, I am a consumer of Dollar Shave Club, but I talk more about them, not because their razors are where it's at, but because of their branding and how much fun they are and how much, honestly, I love that they're such a rebel in the industry, and they took a $45 4-pack of blades and gives me an $8 4-pack of blades and are doing it with a smile. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it hits your emotional space.
Yes. Yes. And I'm so glad you said that. What did we start this conversation with? When consumers are absorbing your content through any of your marketing channels, they didn't come for ads. Right. So whatever your why is, you really want that to be a strong part of your content organization. And how you convey that can be through your actions and what you do, right? If one of your whys is to be very giving, let's just say you're in a very philanthropic, is that how you say that?
Philanthropic, yeah.
I always butcher that one. If it's a very philanthropic business that you do, show up and show that you're doing that. Show your team, show yourself, take content and talk about the charities you support, show up to those charities and be a participant in those things. And it doesn't mean you have to do things you wouldn't authentically do. You should already have strong alignment with your why. Right. And one thing that I want to make sure I say is that, and Simon says this, and Simon Sinek says this as well, is your why is not to profit or for a monetary gain, or even for a vote. That is the result. Your why is the deeper purpose for the thing that you are selling, for that what and that how, right? So now we have our what. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the different pieces within. We have, or what we sell and what we buy or sell, or excuse me, our products or services we sell. We have our how, which is those core values, logistics, and personality. And then we have our why. And now this is where it gets really fun. And we get to start to look at one, what are you already innately putting out into the world? Right? Through all of those marketing channels. If quotes are important to you, okay, on the other side or wherever you have room, put quotes. If you love video, put video, right? If you sell shoes and you are an avid marathon runner, maybe a map of every marathon you've ever done with a snapshot of your feet at the finish line of every one. Right? Or something like that. So look at your content and see what you're naturally already creating and start to see how you can fit that into those different pie charts.
Now, is the content supposed to, the one piece of content hit all three, or is it I'm creating one piece of content that hits the how and one that hits the why and one that hits the what?
For simplicity, I try to pick one that hits your what, one that hits your how, one that hits your why.
Gotcha.
There's often times where they're going to overlap. And that's actually nice, because once you have this pie chart built out and you've determined that, 15% of the time I'm talking about this product that I sell, and 10% of the time I'm also talking about this piece of my selling. Then you can assume on a 30-day calendar that you want to put out content through one of your marketing channels at least once a day. You just simply figure out what is 10% of 30. And you now know at least 3 times a month, you need to be putting out that content sliver in your pie chart. Yeah,
this is good, Steph, because I obviously was here for the first time that you came on and you talked about the social media, and we were really breaking that down into the 10%, the 20%, or what have you for that month. So is now connected the dots between, okay, but how do I know what to put in those? And you talked about that, but this really broke it down into a very understandable way. of how you come up with the items that you're plugging into that chart that we developed the last time. So that's awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that. I feel like without the visuals, it feels like you're still staring at an empty circle, because you probably are. But having that clear kind of guide into your, even if you took the circle away and you take content away, I've just given you some really clear guidelines on even the importance of those key things for your brand.
Right. No, this has been awesome. Now, how do people get in touch with you? Let them know what they need to do if they want to work more closely with you.
Yes. Well, I am on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook mostly. And my business name is Vim, and it's for Visual Intentional Integrated Marketing. So there is 2 I's there. And if you're trying to get Vim, you go to getvim.com, and all of our socials are at getvim as well. And I know on the show notes, there's some room for a couple links, and I would happily invite anyone to email me, or our website. We have free consultations, and you can book some time with me there.
Awesome. Y'all see what she did there with the Vim. You see how it all tied in. I love that. I've always loved that with you. Thank you so much for coming on again. This has been valuable once again. And I was over here scribbling my little notes on my notepad. So guys, I hope that you learned a lot from this session, and we'll reach out if you have any questions for Steph. Thanks so much.
Thank you.